We'll give a few minutes for people to come in, but would you all just mind kind of introducing yourself, where you are at Augustana and all that jazz? Oh, Paul, you're presenting. Do you mean to be?
No,
Oh,
get
I
me
think
out of
you.
here. You are
We-
presenting.
I didn't know. I thought that was my job tonight, but
It is. It is. Um, I might have to get out and come back.
yeah.
I'll be
Or
back.
at the bottom of your screen. Okay. No. Hi, Annalisa. Hi. Is it Kari or Carrie? Kari, can you hear me okay? Maybe not by the computer yet. Yes, that worked, Paul. Thanks. And Laura, is that right? Hi, Laura.
Hello.
Hello. I was just about to suggest that we start with maybe some quick introductions, and then hopefully we'll have some time for some more conversation and get to know each other a little bit more and answer all your questions. Why don't we do it this way? I'll start and I'll choose one of you, and maybe you can say your name, where you are at Augustana, and what, if anything, you know about Holden Village so far. For some of you, it might be a lot. For others, very little. So I'm Jason Mon. I teach in our religion department here. I also direct the Center for Faith and Learning at Augustana. I've been going to Holden Village for a week at a time in the summer as part of a kind of informal teaching crew, teaching older adults, and as one of the leaders of this Augustana trip for about 10 years now. And I have Paul Olson actually to thank for getting me introduced to Holden in the first place. So I know a lot about it, and I'll say more about that. So that's enough for now. Emma, would you go next?
Hi, my name is Emma. I am a junior at Augustana, and I am double majoring in public health and religion. And I don't know much about Holden Village, but getting the email and reading through it, it sounded pretty interesting. And I don't know if there's going to be any other like J-term class that I want to take in religion. So I thought that I would just come to the informational meeting and get more information. So I'm kind of excited.
Thanks. You want to call on someone else, Emma?
Laura.
Hello, I'm Laura. I'm a junior. I am majoring in communication studies and graphic design. I actually am friends with the person who did the Holden Village trip in, what would that have been, 2019, 2020? Last year, right before COVID, yeah. And it just sounded super awesome and very up my alley of what I would be interested in doing. And so, yeah.
Thanks, Laura. You want to choose someone? Tag?
Sure. I will choose Brooke.
Hello, my name is Brooke. I'm a freshman. I'm planning on majoring in communication sciences and disorders. I really don't know a lot about Holden Village, but I got the email with the description, and it just sounded really, really amazing. And I'm really excited to hear about it.
Thank you, Brooke. Tag to someone else?
Carrie?
Hi. I'm Carrie. Oh, sorry. This is Remy. I had signed up for the Holden trip for this year, and I'm a senior, but I'm actually going back to Augie in the fall to like take some extra classes. So I think I'll be able to go, which is really cool. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Let's see, who do we have left here? Jesslyn or Jared or Annalisa or Dr. Olson?
I can go. I'm in the CSO, you can tell. But I'm Jesslyn. I also had signed up to go for this J term, but I think I will actually go not this J term, but the following one because I want to go to Austria for the other J term. But Holden Village sounds really cool, like living off the grid. I really like those kinds of things, team building activities. I'm a sophomore and I just declared theater major, so
Congrats. Who do you like better, Annalisa or Jared? I'm just kidding. You want to pick one though?
sure, Jared can go.
Great. So I had some connection issues, so I didn't exactly hear what we're supposed to say. So Dr.
Jared,
Meyer.
yeah, where you are here, maybe what you did this afternoon, if you want to share, but then what you know about Holden Village, if anything.
Yeah. So, my name is Jared. I'm in my dorm room right now in Swanson. Kind of what Dr. Mon was hinting at. I played a piano recital this afternoon, which was a lot of fun. Very stressful, but it was fun nevertheless. I heard about Holden Village. Actually, I think it was both Pastor Priggy and you, Dr. Mon, gave sermons about it, and it just sounded like an amazing experience. And I know actually the new pastor we have, she just came from Holden Village. So I talked to her about her experience, and it just sounds wonderful. So I tried to go on the trip this year, but it was canceled. So hopefully next year we can go out there.
Why don't we save Professor Olson for last? So Annalisa, I think you're the last of the students.
Yeah, I'm Annalisa. I'm a junior. I was also supposed to be going to Holden this past year when it was canceled, and now I'm thinking about going next year. I'm majoring in English, religion, and German.
Thanks, everyone. I have your names down here. I'll send you a pin or a patch or a sticker. And why don't I do it kind of randomly? They're on the way. I haven't received them yet, but I ordered them from the Holden store. Sorry, I was just looking at the chat. I'll send you one randomly, and then you can trade, and that'll be a way to get to know people too. So even if you don't go, you get a cool sticker or a patch for your hat, like mine, or backpack, or whatever you want to do with it. Professor Olson, want to introduce yourself? Paul, can you hear us okay? Maybe having technical difficulties. Paul, can you hear me? The rest of you can, right? Okay. Oh, you might. Here, I'll send a chat to him quick. Sorry, now I lost my chat. would someone say a chat just saying he might be open on 2 screens? I'll send him an email too. There we go. He's getting back on. Thank you, Carrie. Nothing like old professors, 2 of us figuring out technology. Oh, there's my chat button. It moved. Okay. Okay. So people have different levels of knowledge about Holden. I'm so glad that all of you are checking this out. Of course, there's no, obligation for checking out some more information and looking into this. Because we are planning to go to Holden Village this past year, we had a full group. I think it was 13 students or maybe 14. Our max was 15. We were ready to go. Some of those students are with us today, and they have kind of first dibs at the spot for next year because the trip got postponed. But as of now, there's only 3 people that have kind of started the application process. So there should be room for many people to go. We kind of think, and I actually like the fact that Holden is one of the last study away or study abroad trips to fill up. I think that's because it's a domestic trip. In many ways, it's an easier trip to kind of imagine going on. And so a number here, I think, are looking at maybe an international trip, also looking at Holden, and that's just fine. It will be, once we get closer to that 15 person maximum, 15 student maximum, it will be probably a first come, first serve basis, because we're already kind of around the time of the first deadline of the study away. We'll probably recruit throughout the spring and maybe even to the summer. But when we have 15 people that have completed the application on Studio Abroad and paid their $300 deposit, they'll then, have those spots. If one of them drops out, they get all but the $100 processing fee back, and someone else could move into their spot. The 15 student cap is Holden's policy. We'll be out there next year, both with Pacific Lutheran University and Luther College, two other ELCA colleges and universities. And so Holden wants to keep their numbers down. They're really, really interested in sustainable living, having a low impact on the earth, and also just being really safe out there in the middle of the wilderness. We'll say more about that. So they want to keep their numbers really low. It's a great time. Paul, can you hear us okay? Okay, you need to unmute. It looks like you can hear us. And would you introduce us, Paul? Mute button should be at the very bottom, a microphone.
You can also hit Control D.
What's that?
You can click Control D on your keyboard.
Control D, is that right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jesselyn. Or Control D on your keyboard. No? Paul, it may be that you... He's here, he's back. Okay, he'll join us. Let's do this. Why don't I start here or continue our conversation with a slideshow that shows some images of Holden. I think it's a really good way to kind of get a feel for the place and the people in it. And I'll just kind of give running commentary about both the logistics of the trip and what Holden is all about as we go. Why don't you, let's see. Yep, still muted, Paul. So we'll try just when you can unmute. There you go. Try us now, Paul.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm here. Hi, everybody. I'm the king of technology.
It sounds like both of us are tied for first place there. Professor Olson, will you say a little bit about what you've done over many years here at Augustana and something about Holden and what you'll be doing here on the next trip?
Yeah. Thanks. And hi, everybody. I can see you all well, and maybe it's good you can't see me. That's okay.
We can see you.
I've retired, but I'm in good health, and I work out a lot so I can handle the snow and the rough parts of Holden, the fun parts. I've already thought about races down the big hill. So if you're ready to race on a sled, and I'm an ex-track coach too, and I got a stopwatch. So we'll have timed races. But the big thing for us, I think, as a group is I get to teach this wonderful course by great writers. It's had a lot of different names over the years. It's been called Faith and Doubt. That's where it is now. It was once Sacred and the Profane, same kind of literature. And it began with something called The Images of the Divine. And it just made a bigger picture with the best writers in the Western world talking about the images of the divine. And there were bigger images than what lots of religions give to them. Anyway, it's been a really popular course with students, and I can't wait to teach it in between sled runs down the hill. And yeah, okay, that's enough. That's awesome. I don't know how to get my picture up there, but.
Oh, we can see you. You should be able to.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I can't see Laura.
Don't make any faces. Yeah, Laura doesn't have her camera on right now.
Oh, okay.
There she is.
Hi, Laura. Yeah,
So
and I've been at Holden a lot. I was on the board for 12 years. I was the teaching staff coordinator for summer, and just have been there with my simple abstract word for it is it's magical. And if you guys are going, I can't wait to hang out with you.
So just a couple of things. So yeah, Professor Olson will be teaching the course. It'll be a single course. And the way we do this so that people get different academic credentials out of it is that if you haven't yet taken your reasoned examination of faith course, that's the one required religion course of all Augustana students. So Brooke, as a first year student, this may be you. You can wait and sign up for that course. It'll be called Theology and Literature, and take that from Professor Olson. If you've already fulfilled that requirement, you can't take a second one. So then you would register for the English version of the course, which is called Faith and Doubt, English 125. They'll be the same class. You'll be all doing the same work. It's just you will either get a perspective on human values and credit to English department if you're an English major or minor, or the reasoned examination of faith as the campus-wide religion requirement out of it. If you've already fulfilled both those things, we have a lot of students that go to Holden because it's Holden, and you all know that you have lots of room in most schedules to take a course just because you want to be there. Every time I've heard Professor Olson speak about great texts and short stories and poetry, I've come away a better person. So it's the kind of course to take and to be transformed by, even if you have your PH and your REF and things. Without further ado, let me go ahead and present these slides from Holden. And as I'm presenting, I won't be able to see you necessarily, but would you just unmute if you have a pressing question and just chime in? I'll be able to hear you and jump in and ask your question or make your comment. Otherwise, maybe I'll talk for the next 15 minutes or so. And then I'll see you again and we'll have a conversation and a discussion about anything. So here we go. Annalisa, would you mind turning off your mute and just letting me know that you can see this once I have it pulled up?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we can see it.
All right, thanks. So there's a picture of Holden at night. It's one of the most remote inhabited areas in the continental United States. So there are people living there all year round. In the summer, the population swells to about 300 or 400 people. Most of those folks are guests who come in for a week or 2 or 3 at a time, do programming and climb mountains and fly fish now and do this kind of thing. So it's like a retreat house or retreat community for a lot of people. But then there's also a full-time staff. They call them villagers who stay throughout the year, these long-term volunteers. They're sometimes there for a year, sometimes 2 years, in some cases more than that. And Holden is their home. What's really, really neat about going for J-term is it's that smaller community of villagers. There may be about 50 or so of them in the village, plus these 3 Lutheran college groups, each with just a dozen or 15 students or so. So it's this really, really small community, and you get to know people from our group and the other colleges and the villagers really, really well, because you study together, you live together, you eat together, you play together, you have deep, meaningful conversations together. It really does feel like an intentional community. I'll let you read this from Thoreau. That's a picture of me. It looks like, walking to the end of the earth, but I'm in the copper basin there. And many people who go to Holden think of it as a kind of place of self-discovery. of thinking about who they are and who they feel called to be. Because it's this remote place, because it's surrounded by these beautiful mountains, and because people go to Holden at really transitional moments in their lives. Many of the Holden villagers are in their young 20s, maybe recent college graduates who want to spend a year or two there before getting their first career job. Others may be recent divorcees or people who have gone through a kind of crisis in the middle of their life, and they want to go and reset and really think about who they are. It attracts these kind of folks. So it's a really meaningful place, and it's a place that people kind of quest after, thinking about things that matter, the meaning of life, those kinds of things. Those same characteristics, I think, make it it's not an easy place to be, right? There are fewer distractions. It's harder to kind of be busy and fleeting and juggling all these kind of things. It's a place where people are unplugged and they need to be real with themselves and with other people. And that can be scary too, right? I mean, a lot of our days we're kind of putting up fronts and living different scripts, and Holden's a place where a lot of that kind of fades to the background and you are who you are. I think that to take advantage of a place and opportunity like that in college, there's just no better time that you can do that. I won't spend this long talking about things. Holden has different commitments. I've just kind of cut and paste 5 of them here to give you a sense of what they do. They're interested in radical or lavish hospitality. It's a place where people come to get renewed. And so whether it's food or fun or education, they want to be hospitable. It's a diverse place. They want to be very diverse, and they are. People come from all different backgrounds with different life experiences. They're really, really interested in environmental sustainability or ecology. They want to serve creation well. They're interested in rest and renewal, and really interested in community. You can see from some of the language here and the language up above that it is a religious community. Holden is connected with the Lutheran Church, the ELCA Lutheran Church, and that's the same church body that Augustana is connected to. But they're really, really clear that while worship together is part of the daily life of the village, they understand that will mean different things to different people, right? There may be card-carrying Lutherans who are so excited about that part of it. There might be non-religious people who want to sit on the upstairs balcony in the 20-minute worship and reflection time and just kind of watch and take it in. They're not sure where they are, if anywhere. There are other Buddhists and Catholics and all sorts of different folks. The one thing that I think would be really hard, if you think religion or spirituality and meaning and purpose are kind of dumb and not needed, we should just kind of all seek to get whatever we want and not care about neighbors, Holden probably isn't a place for you. You probably need to be open to these kind of conversations to some level. My experience is that even the most steadfast atheists and nuns have gone to Holden, and they haven't converted, and no one wants you to convert to change religious identity, but they've come back really thinking like, yeah, that was meaningful. That was powerful. I got a lot out of being part of that open process of thinking about life and meaning and faith with one another. So here's some basics about this next trip. That's a group of the Augustana students who went there last in January of 2020, with Dara Wegman-Geedy and Sharon Varallo. We will leave on Sunday, the 2nd of January, by train from Chicago, if that's convenient for you, if you're from around that area. If you're coming from another part of the United States, you might choose to fly or get there another way. And we'll work out how you get part of your money that you pay for Holden reimbursed to you to make other travel arrangements. And I'll be the one kind of helping with all that logistics. But I think that probably a number of us will be on that same train. It's a 40-hour train ride. We'll be exhausted, but we'll spend a night in a posh resort on Lake Chelan that you see in the background there, and then enter the village. Well, let me say a little bit more. From the resort there, we then get on a boat and we travel up this long mountain, very deep lake, Lake Chelan, until we get to a bus, and then we go up these switchbacks into the Cascade Mountains. We arrive on Wednesday, the 5th of January. We'll spend 21 days until the 26th, and then we'll be getting back on a bus to a boat to another bus to the train that night, and back on Friday, the 28th. This isn't much time to rest and renewal, more rest and renewal. J-term will start then that next week. So we start the trip a little bit sooner than classes start. We end a little later, but that's primarily because Holden is difficult to get to. That's what makes it so great, part of what makes it so great. Holden is eligible for Augie Choice, unlike some other domestic trips. And Augie Choice is open to all current juniors and seniors. So if you're a sophomore or above this year, you'd be eligible to use that $2,000 of Augie Choice. If not, we may have some other funding that we can find. I'm still trying to work out some of that. With Augie Choice, the total price of the trip, this includes all meals, all transportation, your rooming and your lodging, your food, and all the fun at Holden, comes to $2,300. So it's just $300 with use of Augie Choice. You even get a stipend, a meal stipend for on the train to buy either groceries or food on the train. So that really is all encompassing. The only thing that you would spend money on out of pocket is sweatshirts or more stickers and baseball caps and that kind of thing. There's a picture of the Empire Builder, the Amtrak train that we take out. That's a picture of Campbell's Resort, where we spend that first night off the train, and we have a good 24 hours to kind of sleep a lot and go in an outdoor whirlpool and pick up some groceries and settle in. That's a group from now 5 years ago that went back when we were on trimesters. We taught 3 different classes there at the same time for the second half of a trimester. So you'll see a number of older adults, professors on one trip. There's Lake Chelan. It's one of the deepest mountain lakes, and it takes you from essentially the foothills deep into the Cascade Mountains. This is getting off the boat and helping with luggage, passing luggage up. You'll find that at Holden, work is part of what we'll do. I'll say more about that, but work and fun tend to blend into one another. That work is often fun, and fun sometimes takes some work too, or at least some physical strength and endurance and such. We get on one of the school buses and we go up these switchbacks from the lake to Holden Village. Holden is really a joyful place, I think I would put it. It's a place that wants to celebrate different events and life in general. And one thing they're really great at commemorating is people coming into the village and leaving the village. So there's always instruments going out, or drum circles and signs, and sometimes costumes, sometimes practical jokes. They want to celebrate life, and they want to celebrate us as we come and join them in that life. Here's a picture in the wintertime. That would be early winter because there isn't that much snow on the roofs, although maybe it's that they've already pulled a lot of it down. Roof avalanches are a danger, and there are other dangers in the in the winter there, avalanches and so forth. One of the first things we'll do when we get into the village is undergo a 2-day training for avalanche prevention, so that we don't trigger an avalanche. And if an avalanche ever does trigger, we know safely how to get out of the way and survive those things. So winter survival is actually one of those skills that is taught regularly in Holden, and you don't get any credit at Augustana for it, but you do learn some pretty valuable skills about how to live sustainably and safely in a remote mountain environment. So here's a little bit more about work. About 5 hours each week, well, 4 or 5 hours each week, all of us will be doing work, and we'll be assigned to different areas. You might be staffing the craft room, or helping with housekeeping, or being a cook, or helping with shoveling snow and keeping paths clear so people are safe. You get some say in kind of what you want to do, and then there's just a matching system with what the village needs done and your particular gifts and interests. This is a really big part of the experience there. We don't get paid for it, but the price that we pay to go to Holden goes down because all of our students, and I'll be doing it too, will be working alongside one another and villagers. And those work hours are a great way to meet the villagers and work beside them as well. We'll also do some dishes while we're there. It can be fun, and even fire stoking. Getting up at a pretty early hour in the morning and making sure that buildings have heat. And that entails building a fire. And we'll get training in this, in the heating system, in the different chalets and buildings, and making sure that people wake up to a warm living room because you were up doing your needed work. Different jobs that you might have in the village. All the food is homemade. They make bread every day, and it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They always have different snacks and leftovers out for people just to grab. Coffee and tea goes on all day. And so you eat 3 meals a day together. And the hotel here, the dining room, it also serves as kind of a campus center, a central spot where people play cards or Yahtzee or whatever it is, ping pong, pool, and lounge and get to know one another. Here's some avalanche training, looking at snowbanks and how they hold or don't hold. Some other jobs might be helping with the young. Holden has a public school in its village, so there may be school-age children who are there taking classes. And we found in the past that the interaction between 70-year-olds and 20-year-olds and 4-year-olds is just a treat too. It's a community that is multi-generational and fun. There's a craft cave picture. There'll be opportunities to throw pottery on the wheel and have that fired in the kiln and bring home pottery for belated Christmas gifts or something like that. You can also do weaving. You can weave a rug or a shawl or something like that, placemats and things, and lots of other art projects that you can do on your own. They'll often have information session on Tuesday night and that kind of thing. The other thing that you might need a little bit of money for are supplies. If you are making a project, you would just pay for supplies. It's really, really cheap. I brought home a whole lot of dishes for like $15 because I threw them myself. Some Augustana students doing avalanche training. There's the main name of the class, English 125, Literature of Faith and Doubt. Again, those who haven't fulfilled their REF would take the same class, but as a religion course. I think it's 213, Literature and Theology. Classroom spaces will look very different there than on campus. Some classes will be outside, others in lounge areas, students making some presentations, chatting after class, doing homework on a porch or in a snowbank. not doing homework in bed. Lots of fun, both inside and outside at Holden. Outside, the big things are hiking, snowshoeing. Usually you hike with snowshoes on in the winter. They get a tremendous amount of snow, hundreds and hundreds of inches of snow. And so the snow is piled up deep, but the average temperature is actually just a little bit warmer in Holden Village than it is here at Augustana campus in January. So it's comfortable. You see the student there with his hat off. Cross-country skiing is also really big. They have all the equipment there, snowshoes and cross-country skis. You just sign stuff out and take it on your own trip with a friend or a big group or whatever it is. Learning to ski is fun. Resting is fun.
Dr. Mann.
Yes, thanks for jumping in. Who is this?
It's Jesslyn.
Jesslyn, yes.
So, out of curiosity, are these pictures taken on cell phones or cameras? Or because if there's no service, you can still take pictures on your phone.
That's right. Yeah, so they are, almost all of these would be cell phones. I think a couple people had really nice cameras out there. Yeah, so you won't get any reception. I haven't talked about that yet. Thanks for reminding me, Jesslyn. You won't get any reception with your cell service. There is some very limited internet access, including a shared computer in the library where you can go in and register for, well, yeah, there won't be registration this term, sorry, during January, but check in on things and say hello to folks. People really enjoy writing letters back and forth with family and friends though too, and we encourage that. It's such a great way to be in touch at a different pace. But yeah, most people have their phones with them and are taking pictures with them and even posting on Facebook or something if they get on the wireless that night or whatever. But was there more there, Jesslyn?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Dr. Mon, I have a question for you.
Yes. Do I have to leave up this picture while you ask? Just kidding. Go ahead.
So,
is this Jared?
Yes. Yeah. Do you recommend taking a good camera with you?
You certainly could. You know your abilities with keeping the camera safe. I mean, safety in terms of like anyone stealing or something is a non-issue. It's a really tight, close community. But I just meant in terms of like being out in the elements with a camera or something like that. It would be a terrific place if you do have photography skills to utilize it, because it's just so beautiful and so much happening all the time. So if you're comfortable with taking your equipment out there, I think you would really like it. People like me, I think the cell phone is what we can do. And if I can hold on to that for 30 days, it's a win.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Jared. This is a picture of Winter Olympics. Holden, I said, has lots of fun. They'll have like costume parties and talent shows. And yeah, this was Winter Olympics where they, over the course of a weekend, had all these different events. We were doing a sled race here. Josh is to my right there. He was a football player from Augustana when he went. He also knit that cap. So, burly man, football player, but he also learned to knit in Holden Village and knit his own hat there. And we were racing with kids in back of us, pulling them along the road there. And we won our little gold medal, paper medal. And that's kind of a feel of what happens in Holden. It's just a lot of homemade fun and really well-made homemade fun. They do have a big gym that is unheated in the wintertime, but people play volleyball there and basketball, and I don't know what game this was, but some creative game that someone had invented. Games in the middle of the evening that scare the life out of me for those who want to partake in the dark, and just a lot of good fun. See a talent show there. Bottom right, you can see the gym, the swing in it, fun outside and inside. Special dinner, costume party. I don't know exactly what this was. Knitting is huge. Crafts are huge. A lot of people make their own scarves and mittens and hats, and there's lots and lots of people to show you how and help you when you get stuck. That's Andy, one student who went both times. I guess it was 2 times ago and 3 times ago. And then he ended up working out there for a year and a half as the naturalist of the village. So he was the one, he graduated with biology and environmental science here, and he went out being a longtime volunteer at Holden, working out there, helping other people understand sustainability in the natural world. I'll try to go quickly here so we have lots of time to talk. There's Josh knitting. They have a bowling alley and a game room with a jukebox and ping pong tables and pool tables. The pins of the bowling alley you set up yourself. I should have said earlier that Holden Village, before it was a retreat center and intentional community, was a mining village. It was built for a copper mine for the families of the miners to live as the miners mined copper out of the mountainside. And so after that was left dormant after World War II, when the price of copper fell and the village couldn't be sustainable, it lay dormant for about a decade and then was gifted to a Lutheran church body who over the next decade then rebuilt it and made this tremendous Holden village out of it. So the bowling alley goes back to the early 20th century with these miners and their families bowling. Music is really big there, as well as other arts. It's a really creative place. There's lots of pianos to play, other instruments. Those of you who play an instrument, if again, you feel comfortable taking out your instrument, Holden loves for instruments to come in. I mentioned that there's worship every night. If you play an instrument or you sing, you'll be asked to accompany or lead a service or do a solo and do all these different things. Everything that's done there is done by the community. And so people who can do arts just are invited to come in and help us with worship, with talent shows, with entertainment. So it's a great place. And they have really good, at least one really good piano, number of other ones, and other instruments on hand. So those of us like me who can't do anything well but still want to play the drums get our chance as well. Oops, here we go. All the Augustana students who go on the trip will stay in one of the lodges. These are the long buildings that you'll see in those aerial pictures of the village. You'll have a roommate. It'll feel a lot like a dorm. Sorry, this is a picture of what they call fireside. This is where you have the nightly worship, and that's a picture of the nightly worship called Vespers. Here's a picture of what is essentially a dorm there. Different room, really kind of bare minimum, but really warm, really safe, really comfortable. As many quilts as you need, they have for you. It's well heated as well. Hot showers are usually pretty good to come by. There may be, if it doesn't snow a lot and there's not a lot of movement in the river, they might ask people to shower every other day rather than every day or something like that. I tend to think that that's kind of the fun of Holden anyway, except one time Josh, that football player, sniffed me after class the last time I was there and said, Dr. Mon, I think it's time to shower. So, you reach a compromise with how much you do that. The reason I mentioned the river is because all the power of the village is all produced by hydroelectric power. So it's essentially the river that you see coming through the village is what is supplying all of our water pressure and water. And much of the heat, the other heat, is supplied by trees that are felled and burned in furnaces. They have a sauna. This isn't it. I couldn't find a picture of the inside of the sauna, but a wood-burning sauna that's really popular. You can go in sauna for 30 minutes and then roll around in the snow and then sauna again and see how long you can last. Here are photos from the last 4 groups that have gone. This is 4 times ago, 3 times ago, the time before last, and last year's group. Return looks a lot like coming there. You get on a bus to a boat, to a bus to a train, but the friendships, this is a member of the Luther College group there on the left, the friendships that you make last, and they send us off with deep blessings and wishes, and often follow-up letters and lifelong friendships. Another nice thing about this trip is that we'll do a lot to get to know each other towards the end of this term, and maybe a little bit through the summer and then fall term, just so that we hit the ground running with our trust of one another and these relationships. And then after we come back too, we'll have some reunions. This was in Augie Acres, the last group that went, getting together for a bonfire and s'mores around the bonfire after they returned later that spring. Okay, I'm going to get out of here and be able to see your faces again. So maybe, Paul, we could start with you. Are there things that I said but didn't say well, or you want to say more about, or other things you thought of as I was presenting that you'd like to share before we just have some questions and conversation?
Well, you did. Yeah, it was a great explanation. I just sat here with goosebumps and excitement to saying I want to go back. I did think of this as you had that list of some of the fundamentals of what Holden is, and it's the only institution in America that has hilarity in its mission statement. And they bless every new building, and that is usually a hilarious blessing. They bless every new thing that might happen. If a tree falls down and in the middle of the road, they're going to go down and bless it, and then they'll cut it up. But that's just an interesting, it really says a lot about what Holden is about, that's even in their mission statement. And I think the other thing, you covered it, with the pictures did a lot of that. But the classes are really special. I would say they're even intimate. It's a natural setting for exchange. Sometimes the classroom isn't. I mean, the teacher and the students have to work hard at that, but at Holden, it just seems to be natural. And that's and you said that, as you said, it's a place to find out, who am I, and what do I think, and what do I make of this journey that's I'm saying, to me now it's 100 years, but for a lot of people it's less than that. And that all happens there, and every part of it, of that journey, and your pictures did that, and your voice did too, Jason. The train trip is a ball. I don't think I've ever played as much euchre and gotten to know as many students as well as in any other setting. The bus trip is great. The trip up the boat, on the boat up the lake is it's like going through a Norwegian fjord for 3 hours, and it's spectacular beauty. And then the bus trip up, it's safer now. I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a sign. Can you see me? Because I can't see myself on this. Okay, there was a sign at the boat dock that looked like just a bunch of squiggle rulers. Well, that was a map of the switchbacks. When there was a lot of, in fact, a $300 million restoration of environment up there in 2015, they had to rebuild some of those roads. So not that really matters, except that it's a safer trip up the hill now, because there aren't quite, the roads are wider. But the bus trip too is what I was getting to, is just a fun thing too. And then the fun and meaning go together. If I don't want to be your teacher right now, but I've started every class I've ever taught with this little poem. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the water clear, I may. I shan't be gone long. You come too. And that poet is saying, I'm going to go out and just clean the leaves off the pasture spring. It doesn't need to be done. It's been out there for millennium, but I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to watch the water clear. And I'm not asking you to come and help balance my credit card to help me find a used car. It's totally impractical, but that's what he wants to share. You come too. And that's my calling to you guys for Holden. It'll be practical. I mean, we have to make fires and we want to have fun, but it'll also be just something beyond practicality. And my favorite line about teaching literature and the theology that goes with it is, this might be the most impractical course you'll ever take. And by being so, it will be the most practical course you'll ever take. So I'm selling the course and Holden can sell itself. Yeah. I think it was a great job, Jason. I enjoyed it. I got goosebumps.
It's awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
Let me just say a quick word about safety, because that's often a question that not only students, but students' parents and grandparents ask. So Holden is really remote. They're incredibly careful, right? I mean, they know that there's danger in the wilderness. I mean, there are avalanches, there are bobcats, there are other dangers. They are really serious about safety. That's why you go through this winter survival course when you get there, and you're always signing in and out, going in and out of the village. You're always doing that with a partner, and they keep track of you and ask you to keep track of other people while you're there. If there is an emergency, if someone breaks a leg or has an uncontrollable asthma attack that happened with one Augustana student many years ago or something like that, it is an airlift. There are medics in the village, but there are not physicians in the village, right? So a serious injury or a serious sickness is a medvac out of the village to the town of Chelan, which is where we got on the boat for treatment in a hospital there. You can get to that hospital probably as quickly as, ambulance would take you to Rock Island, Genesis, get you there quick. But that just gives you an idea of the kind of remoteness of it. What I find is because Holden is so careful and intentional about things, everything from like even before the pandemic, washing hands and being, they don't want anything being spread around the village and stuff, that most students are like more well in body and mind and spirit there than they are here, just because they're sleeping a lot, they're eating good food, they're being intentional with their own bodies and those around them. So just a word about that. You're well cared for, but it is a remote place and we take all the necessary precautions. What comments or questions or anything else do you all have? And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have to be going, but this was great, and I look forward to maybe signing up in the next few years. But thank you.
Thank you, Jesslyn. Have a good night.
You too.
I'm going to work on Jesslyn and see if we can get her to go to Austria as a senior and Holden as a junior. It's all good. We do hope, we don't know absolutely for sure, we do hope that we'll be going to Holden every year now after the 1 year off with the coronavirus. So Brooke, if next year didn't work out and you could look as a junior, you could think about that too. Comments, things that struck you or that you're conflicted about or want to know more about?
I'm just really excited about the trip. Like in high school, I used to do a lot of backpacking with my Boy Scout troop. And at one point we went to Switzerland and we did hiking in the Alps. So like this reminds me so much of that, spending time outside, doing work, starting fires, spending time in the dining hall with other people. It reminds me so much of that, and I look forward to doing another experience just like that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jared. In many ways, too, Paul mentioned Norway and you mentioned the Alps. In many ways, Holden feels like an international trip, especially compared to maybe an international trip where you go and you stay in a nice hotel and you're surrounded by US citizens or something. I mean, sometimes you can be as insulated in another country if you're traveling a particular way. I don't think the Augustana trips are like this necessarily, but Holden really is a very culturally distinctive place with these villagers who are, climbing up the mountainside because a log has fallen in the water source and there can't be hot water until they pull it away. Does anyone want to come? Like, that was a cross-cultural experience for me. I hadn't done that before. So, what else?
Jason, for my own clarity, you mentioned the Augie choice, juniors and seniors. Have that changed? Didn't it go to sophomores and now it's not again, or?
No, it's never, sophomores have never been eligible. A number of us are working really hard.
Yeah,
to
I thought it did. Okay.
Extend. We were trying to do it, but it's been unsuccessful. And there's good reasons for that. I mean, Augustana really wants it to be a culminating experience for juniors and seniors. But what I like about Holden is because it's mainly a general education course for most students. Sophomore year is a great year to ask some of these big questions and have this high impact experience. So it would be great if those funds were available too. We have a new fund called the Fund for Spiritual Exploration that I'm hoping may have some money built up in it that we can offer to sophomore students who wouldn't be able to use Augie Choice if they can do that. But Brooke, I don't know what we can promise yet. We're trying hard to make this available. It's cheap. It's relatively inexpensive compared to other trips. I wish it was, free for everyone. $300 is pretty close if you can use Augie Choice.
Well, it's absolutely worth it. I just didn't want to communicate the wrong thing because I was.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's all.
Juniors and seniors with
Yeah.
use of Augie Choice. Yeah. Anything else? I know we're getting close to an hour here. I'm sorry for my verbal diarrhea today. That's not a nice image. Sorry.
No, it doesn't fit either. It was very good.
Laura, you've already started your application. Go ahead. Sorry.
This is like super weird, and what the answer is, like either or, I'd be okay with. I was just curious. Something that I thought was really cool when my friend went was every student received like a free journal, and they like were able to journal. I was just curious if that's something they do every year at Holden, or if that was just particular to that year.
I think it was particular to that year, but now that you said it, I think it's a great tradition to continue. I mean, it's a kind of place where you want to write down ideas or poetry or
That'd be an easy
doodles or whatever. And so, yeah, I love it. I'll promise it here and now, even if I'm spending my own money. I'm so rich. You don't. I'm just kidding. We'll do a journal somehow.
Thank you.
For those of you ready to apply, it's through Studio Abroad. It's pretty painless process. Jared did it the other day pretty quickly, I think, right, Jared? And no long essays that you have to write or things like that. Your application is activated. Your spot is finally secured once you pay that $300 down payment. If for some reason, God help us, it gets canceled, another virus or something like that, you'll get all $300 back if the trip doesn't go. That's not going to happen. If you decide that you can't make it for some reason, $200 out of the $300 comes back to you, all but the $100 processing fee. So that would be the kind of commitment to hold your spot at some point. Okay. Blessings to each of you. Thanks for doing this tonight. I'm sorry. I asked some of you, but not all, before we got on, that is it okay? I was recording this. If you're not okay, I'll just delete it. but may I share this with other people who might be interested in hearing this information? Okay, thanks. I'm seeing nods. Thanks so much. Be well, everyone. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.